Around the world we find more animals being placed on the endangered list. Some of these are right in our backyard. Here we'll look at a species of fish that's been on the endangered list for many years, but with the help of a dedicated team, including the Mary Catchment Coordinating Committee, it's starting to make a comeback. Nigel Webster from the Fishing Show will introduce us to the hatchery that's helping this endangered species to survive.
For decades, the Jerry Cook hatchery has been breeding freshwater fish, and today it very importantly is used to breed stocks of the endangered Mary River cod. Let's go inside and meet the team that's carrying out this work. Today the hatchery is run and managed by a small team including aquatic scientists David Roberts, Tom Espinoza, hatchery manager Darren Knowles and volunteers like Steve Poole. David is a long-standing member of the program.
Mary River cod were identified as being under threat quite a few years ago in the early 90s. At one point they thought there may have been only about 600 or 700 fish left in the Mary River system. So they listed the species as being endangered, and that led to a whole bunch of activity of developing a recovery plan to actually put in place a bunch of actions to try and bring the cod back. Some of those actions included setting up this hatchery to breed Mary River cod, but also to raise community awareness, do habitat rehabilitation, and a bunch of other things like legislative changes that set about action to protect Mary River cod and hopefully bring them back from a pretty dangerous position they were in.
Day-to-day running of the facility is left to Darren, the Jerry Cook hatchery manager, who's just getting ready for ponds to be filled and broodstock to be put in place. Right, so tell us about the layout here.
We've got 4 broodstock ponds and 3 plankton ponds. Yeah, so what we have here is a broodstock pond. So this is where our parent fish go. So we'll put 2 males and 2 females in here. The ponds have pipes that are about 2 metres long and about 50 centimetres in diameter. So they just simulate the like the fallen logs or the undercut bank that they breed in the wild. What we're about to do now is go down to the hatchery. We'll get some fish out, get some of our broodstock out that have already been tagged. So as I said before, we put 2 males and 2 females in there. They're roughly about the same size, so we try and match up the smaller males with a larger female, just because the males are the more dominant of the two. And yeah, they'll be out there for a couple of months until the breeding season in September.
It's about to get exciting.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Sounds all right.
While David's getting fish ready for the brood ponds, Darren's getting the transportation vehicle ready. Boys are about to try and catch Geraldine. She's a broodstock that's been in nearly 10 years and she's very smart. And she's proven a little bit harder to catch than the others.
All right, so all fish are in the transporter now, so they're just ready to be transported up to their broodstock pond for the winter. So now that we're up at the broodstock pond, the fish will just be brought out. So as we said, we've got 2 males and 2 females. So they'll stay in here from now, which is around sort of mid-April, until early September, when the water temperature reaches 20 degrees, is when we should have our first spawning.
She knows the drill.
Yeah, she's ready to go.
She goes, I've done this before. This is Geraldine. It is so special to release a big broodfish, knowing the important work she has ahead of her. That's very cool. Go hard, Geraldine. The brood ponds have been prepared, filled, pipes are in there, mesh is in there, our broodstock, 4 of them are now in this pond. Mate, what happens now?
Yeah, so from now, the fish will get fed 3 or 4 times a week. They get fed a varied diet of trawler trash, so either whiting, pilchards. They get as many shrimps and yabbies as they can as well. And we even feed them a bit of cow's liver as well. So as we said, we've got 2 males and 2 females in the pond here. They've each got their own pipe. They'll stay in there now until early September, when we have our first spawning. So that first spawning will be when the water temperature reaches 20 degrees.
The water hits 20 degrees, the fish spawn, and Darren gets wet.
Yeah, unfortunately that is the case. So What we do is when the water is around 20 degrees, I dive down, and if you detect eggs, the eggs are quite a big egg. They're about 5 mm in diameter and opaque in colour, so you can see them pretty easy. And another telltale sign is that the male becomes really aggressive at that time. So you've got to dig your toes into the mud, hold your hands in the fist so he doesn't get a hold of any fingers, and we dive down, pull the liner out. We then chop the liners up into 50 centimetre long lengths that are about 20 centimetres deep, and then we hang it on these clotheslines. And then as the eggs hatch, they fall away from all the dead eggs and all the fungus, and then they pull up on the bottom.
The cod breeding program this year has been a success, and with a group of newly hatched fingerlings, it's time to catch up with the team again.
Today we're here to basically permanently mark these cod with a little tag that we put inside their abdominal cavity, and that uniquely identifies every fish. And so we'll restock these cod into the Mary River system, and when we come back and do population surveys, we'll be able to work out the fish from this tag. And hopefully one day we'll be able to work out whether the cod are recovering after all these efforts from the hatchery over the years.
With all our fingerlings tagged and accounted for, we now get to see our fish restocked into their natural environment. Now, before we let these guys go, Steve, to increase survival rates, what do you look for in the water that you release them?
Well, somewhere to hide, basically.
Yep.
Is the short answer. Which, with these small cod, they're quite happy to live in the macrophytes, in the water weeds.
Yes.
Plenty of food for them. Bit of cover. Some will go down into the calicium balls, into little cracks in the snags. They'll just find anywhere they can hide and ambush whatever comes past. We'll start letting them go here. As you can see, there's heaps of snags, the odd water weed, and these calicium trees have this big root ball in the water, which is just heaven for fish to hide in. So we'll just send a few out into here.
The Mary River Cod Hatchery is a key action under the recovery plan to ensure the recovery of cod in the Mary and other river systems. But the problem is the lack of funding to run the hatchery. There isn't a steady stream of funding at the moment, and we really are calling on people and businesses to assist in contributing funds to run the hatchery.
It's easy to see that the work of the hatchery has improved the plight of the Mary River cod. The future of the hatchery remains uncertain as funding is always an issue. The good news is that you can help. To donate funds, visit the website MRCCC.org.au and follow the link to tax-deductible donations.
And a large part of that success is due to the hatchery and the production of over 500,000 fingerlings so far. So we really need to get them over the line, keep the support going, and keep up the good work to make sure that we can bring Mary River cod off the endangered list.
If you accidentally catch a Mary River cod, don't take it out of the water unless you have to, and don't touch it with dry hands. If you must take it out, use a wet towel or wet hands and hold it under its belly, like this. And as soon as possible, release it slowly and gently.